from the spiritual mysteries of life. It is a pleasure to be with you all, and it's a blessing for me to have you all here watching. And this has been a wonderful time, and so we're going to get started. And I want to thank Neshi for hosting the show this evening. I always forget to do that, and I apologize, but she's just been wonderful. And we always have some adjustments, and we get them straightened out pretty quickly anyway this last couple times, and so we're good to go. And also, the Star Nations November magazine is still available, and the December will be issued on the 10th of the month and for December, and they'll have that ready. And lots of things going on. And again, like I told you before, 2020 is a good year, and they're going to have some online classes and some wonderful things going on at Star Nation. So stay tuned for all that good stuff that's coming. And but anyway, so this evening, it's I feel so energized. It's almost like I'm ready to fly out of here. I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about, but we're just going to go and talk about. And I'm sure I'll be speaking of the I am presence because that's what this process is all about, and how we're supposed to bring ourselves in. As you see, I think I might do a little history analysis of what I've been told and worked out, and you'll be able to relate to it because you probably, if you're a biblical student, you probably have read it, and some of the ideas that have come across. And so here we go. And that is when I always want to present things in a joyful state and and be peaceful about it. And because Jesus told us, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. And that's what I want to do tonight. I want to give you some peace of mind. We really need to think about when some of the things that he did, because a lot of what we're doing and how things are evolved and what we're doing in our spiritual life comes through. And Jesus tried, he brought, I won't say tried, he did. He brought in a lot of things for us to take in, whether or not we were able at that time. You got to remember the times 2,000 years ago, people didn't have the mindsets that we have today. And so we've evolved. We've embodied many times since then. So each time we come in, we try to seek, and we make those arrangements before we come in that we're going to do certain things. And if we don't get them accomplished, then we come again, and we have every opportunity. And I did listen to my show from last month, from 2 weeks ago, because there was some questions asked about what did I mean when I said sitting. And I think I explained that. But what I'm really meant, what I really do when I'm sitting is I'm in a meditative state. I don't always say meditation, but when I'm sitting, that's what I do. And that's when the hierarchy or whoever, if I'm channeling, and we record all my channeling. And so it's interesting to see who comes in and how long they're in, and how, the things that they bring in to us to help us, and evolving our soul and what we're trying to achieve. And the fact that we know that we have a God self and a Christ self. And our Christ self is, when the different phases of, and I'm not going to get into a big dissertation on the aspects of certain things of the Old Testament, but in what we're living in today is that the fact is that we have everything coming that's going to be really exciting, and we have to kind of gear up for that. And so we have to change our mindsets, And our thoughts are so, I mean, everything that we generate are thoughts. And when we think of something, more than likely, you set a goal out there and you'll say, okay, I want to do this and I want to have this done by this time, et cetera, et cetera. And then, you say, okay, I'll set my goals and I'll do my thing. But it's when we really had a great demonstration. Jesus, when he demonstrated to us in the resurrection uh, of the mortal body, and that's what we're in here, is the mortal body. And even though we're spirits in a mortal body, but he also was why he did what he did. He absolutely showed us when he was on the cross for the crucifixion is it is finished. Now he didn't do that uh, as a defeat. He did that as a victory to prove that he could rise from the dead for his apostles, for all of his disciples and people to see and to experience it. And then he walked this earth in that state for a long while and was seen in many places and did many things. So you see, and the fact is that when all of the things that we are trying to accomplish is everything, pulling it all together and saying, okay, I'm going to fine tune this. I want to get it. And I want that I am presence. Well, he said, I and my Father are one. So the Christ within, that is the Christ within you, right? God is in you as well. So we have, if have you, and I'm sure you may have heard this before. I gotta think. I'm trying to get my thoughts here together. Is the violet uh, flame, and what that means. When Moses, when he came, he brought the law. Well, when Jesus came, he brought us grace, all bringing it into divine order through divine love. That's what he did. And that's pretty exciting. Now, the violet flame is also known, which is the law of forgiveness, for freeing yourself from the human discord and imperfections. You just have to, that part of who you are and what you're doing, that kind of stuff. And then you just have to ask yourself, okay, we're good. We'll get it. And each time you set your goal and you go within and you want to say, I want to be more spiritual. And you know that each time you do that, you raise your consciousness because you become more aware. And the more beautiful light that is around you and it's within you and what you emanate and what you experience, I really think, sometimes somebody will say, well, and I better back up here a second. I always encourage people to follow their gut feelings. Because if something isn't right and you're feeling it and your hair starts to move or you get chills or your body or you're having a deja vu or whatever, and you say, what is that? Listen, get quiet. And remember, we talked about the silence before, and that the silence, we need to be able to quiet our minds. I used to always refer to my mind as a monkey mind because it was always going. And I said, listen, that's got to stop because it was driving me nuts. So the same thing is that we have to sit down, get quiet, and just quiet that action that's going on in the brain and tell it to be quiet. You're the boss. You don't tell your body to do anything. It has to obey you. So you have to say, I want it quiet. So I can hear. I need to hear my creator. I need to hear my source. And I need direction. So that's what you do. You get that quietness, and then you look within. And if you can do this, I always close my eyes. That's just me. A lot of folks don't have to do that. And I always want you to do what's comfortable for you, because each of us are different. And what's comfortable for one may not be comfortable for another. And so I always think of beautiful light, and I usually, when I close my eyes, I always see a purple light, and a feeling of vibrancy, the presence. I can feel the presence, and that's what you should be feeling when you're using, especially when you're in your meditation, so that you can get yourself quiet and in that oneness, and feel that tremendous peace. Because when you feel that peace, then you know you're in the right place. And then you know that your body, you're going to establish your body, mind, and soul. You're going to communicate, and you're going to ask your source, what do I need to do today? How am I supposed to handle this? Maybe you've got something you need to do. You think, I need some guidance here. So you ask this, and why do you feel the way you do sometimes when you're in a meditation, and then it gets real quiet and serene, and you're so at peace. Now, when you come out of your meditation, then you're ready to go into the world. And I've shared this with you before, and I always have Michael on my right, Uriel in front of me, Gabriel on my left, Raphael at my back, and my Lord Jesus in my crown chakra, and my Holy Mother. Now, you can have whomever you want, but those are the ones I choose to have. And it's not, it's your decision. It's your journey. It's how you perceive it. And how do you want to set it up? Well, I love to be able to use the words and say to myself, today I am in the presence. And I know that I am being taken care of. And I know the positive things. And so when I'm in that state of mind, then I know I can go out and I'll be in harmony. And if somebody um, cuts me off in traffic, I don't get excited about that anymore. I just keep going and say, well, have a blessed day, whatever, and keep going. Because what good does it do anybody to get all excited and upset over something like that when you're on a beautiful walk yourself, because you've already set your pace, you've already set your nucleus of who you are and what you're going to generate today, and how you're going to handle all your events of the day. It's a great thing. And when you're feeling things, and another thing is a lot of a lot of wonderful things can happen. And this is a time of year when the festive, love, everything is festive, and it's a holy time. It's a blessed time. And so you need to set yourself and not get caught up in the busyness of it, but set your sights on the holiness of it. Because we are in the holiest of holies. And sometimes that's hard for people to understand and to receive. But we are. And don't let yourself get all hung up in that human ego stuff. Just take it easy and let go of it, and let things happen as it's supposed to. Because we are here to generate that which is the I am, the great I am. And the creative words that we use and how we present ourselves, how we present. You know, and another thing, I was thinking about this the other day because I could see someone's aura. And I thought, oh, look at that. But I could see many colors with this individual. And I thought, I wonder why I see so many colors. And then I realized those are their other life embodiments that have come with them, that they have brought with them. And sometimes people say, they'll say, what's your favorite color? And I always used to say yellow. And still is one of my favorite colors. And pink. And and I've always loved the amethyst color, the stone, the amethyst. When I have to tell you this story because it's just cute. Is that when I was a little girl, my mom, we went someplace. It was, I don't know if it was a jewelry store or what. We went someplace where there were rings, and I don't know if it was a department store. I don't know where we were, but anyway, she said, "Connie, would you like to look in the and see anything that you might like?" And I said, "Can I have a purple, that purple stone?" And she said, "Well, you certainly can." And she says, "What made you think that one?" And I said, "I don't know. I just like that one." So that's how, when I was just a youngster, maybe 7 or 8 years old, and so she bought me. And so those are the little things that, even as a youngster, you have bring with you, and you know that those colors emanate with you. And of course, we know where the violet ray is. We know, and I've always loved blue, and I'm comfortable with blue, very comfortable with blue. And of course, that's Michael's color, and he's my protector, and but more than my protector, he's wonderful with me. And Uriel is absolutely wonderful with me as well. And he is the ruby red. And you know, the aspect of all of that is that it's all what we are waiting for and working with. And when I first started with Star Nations and working with radio, it was Uriel who would come in, and at that time we just had a half-hour show. And so I would try to say, okay, what do you want me to talk about today? Because in the very beginning, I was so diligent. I would get things all lined up, and I would write things out, and I'd have an outline. And then that day they'd say, well, we're not going to talk about that. And I said, what? So then I had to just let it go. Then I realized that I just had to hear, just be quiet and just let them say, and kind of like when I'm like right now, I'm hearing someone. It comes in blocks. Sometimes I have to roll my eyes, but it's just that sometimes the information will come in a block. And that's the only way I know how to explain it. It's all of a sudden it's just like, oh, here's all this information. And then I'm able to give that out. And so that's how I started. And so consequently, even when I do readings for people, um, it's a joy. When I do readings for people, it's like it's so much fun. And it's just such a peaceful experience. But each time when I am getting ready or whatever I'm doing, I always present the I am concept when I'm saying I am in the presence and I am going to give the very best that I can give. This is about somebody else now, okay? Because when you give a reading to someone, that's a responsibility, a huge responsibility. Because when you give someone a reading and they believe that that is from the spirit realm, which it's coming from, And if you're using your authentic truth, which is absolutely necessary, then you give the information. It could change their life. So you have to make sure that you are working in your authentic truth at all times, no matter what it is. Whether it's your job, whether and it doesn't matter what it is, because that's what we predicate things on. And when you give a reading to someone, you take on the responsibility. And so you have to make sure that you're giving them the most accurate information. And I personally, when I do readings now, I I try not to give what I call real personal. Like, am I getting a new car? Am I going to be moving? Is this, I really don't do that unless I see it. If spirit shows it to me, then it comes out. But I try to give them a spiritual, because that's where I'm at, and that's what I want people to realize, that the aspect of what we're trying to achieve here. We are spirits in a physical body, and we need to be thinking about our spiritual well-being. When you're in this physical body, and we know we have things that we do, and we have to take care of, and we have jobs, and we have all the earthly things, all right? But we also have our spiritual self, that when we agreed to come in, we agreed to do our best, to do the best we can with knowing who we are. And that aspect is, I really want people to be in themselves and know. See, it's always not, and I'm not downplaying readings, but you don't have to do readings for other people. I mean, you don't have to go to another person. You can do it within yourself. If you do the right meditation and you go in and you set yourself and then you ask, and the answer will be given. You don't need to go outside of yourself. The kingdom is within you. You are. You have the Christ in you. You have that God self in you. It's all together. And that's what makes us want to be more loving, kind, and compassionate. Compassionate is the word for the fifth dimension. It's pretty awesome. So we're working it so that everything comes together. So that as we continue to do the work, that you will help educate yourself through different aspects. And try to, when you, even if you have to read books, I'm a firm believer that um, people, when they write things, sometimes don't write it exactly the way it was to be. But it if it helps you get to where you need to be, or if you take a class and it opens a door for you, that's where you need to be. You need to find your avenue, your door that makes it happen for you. You don't need to go outside and sell it, so to speak. You don't have to do that. It's all right here within you. And Jesus did everything he could to set the example for us. When he walked through and gave all the parables that he gave us, and did all that he did, he was trying to tell us that we needed to spiritualize our bodies. We need to spiritualize and raise our consciousness to the Christ that's within us. It's not outside of us, it's inside of us. And then when you find that, that's when things start to, come together, and you make things happen. And it's a wonderful experience. And when you say, well, how do you spiritualize your body? Well, that's a God process. That's your God self, plus God Himself, your Creator, works within you when you set the goal and say, I want that. I want this. I want the spiritual aspect of where I'm at in this lifetime. And when you set your desires, that you're sending those thoughts out. Some people call them rockets. Well, they could be. I mean, if you're in desperate and you say, okay, I need this or I need that, and it goes out, and then it comes back, and eventually, that doesn't always happen right away, but eventually, boom, it happens. And then you say, oh, thank you, Lord. But maybe it took a little bit longer than you anticipated. And so you have to have faith in that. You have to have faith that He's going to answer. But it's thy will be done in His time only. It doesn't happen when we are thinking about it. And when I was in the last show, I shared with you about my out-of-body experience that I had. And, that was in 2012. And that's when we moved into the fifth dimension. So I really think that when they gave me the opportunity to be able to come back into my body and say, yes, I would like to finish what I was supposed to do or whatever when I was younger. Now, the fact is, I'm here and I'm doing what I love doing. And I don't prepare anymore for the shows because I read and I have data that's fed to me. And that's what is important. That's what I give because it's an awareness. It's an opening. It's the awakening of the fifth dimension. People, it's when you say, how do you make that distinction? Well, I don't know how to make that distinction for you. That's something that has to come within yourself. And that is the key. So that you are able to have some continuity, so to speak, within yourself. If you have a spirit or an archangel that that resonates with you, you have the whole angelic kingdom at your disposal. So if there's one that works for you, like Uriel works with me a lot. I mean, he's there all the time. All right. If there's one out there that resonates with you and you feel comfortable with that, then by all means, speak to them, ask them, because they're waiting for us. They want to be asked for help. They won't just embark upon you. They have to be asked. So when you ask them for their guidance, and if they're in their strengths, and you study the saints, I did that one time. It was a women's group, and we studied the female saints, and it was a fun time. But getting to know what women and how they worked, and it was like, you really just was just overwhelming to know that there are female and male spirits or angels, whichever word you want to use, that's comfortable for you. Because I don't want to be using things that, if it's not comfortable for you, then I try to use different phrases so that you can kind of get the feel of it, and then say, okay, this, I can deal with this. Because I always want people to be able to figure it out on their own. It isn't like, well, okay, now you have to believe every word that I say. It has to resonate. It has to feel right. And it has to go, okay, I am in. I am that I am. And know that all the things that God is doing for us, everything's going to change. And it will. But it's going to take time. But uh, don't always try to find the quick way out, because that doesn't, it doesn't always happen. We have to be patient, and we have to just wait sometimes for things to come to fruition, and we have to wait for things to materialize and say, okay, is this what we need to be doing? And then you say to yourself, oh, okay, this is good for me. And knowing that each aspect. Now, let's say, and usually I talk about Christianity. Let's say that you're thinking about the Buddhist in the Buddhist thoughts and the Buddhist meditations, or the Hindu. Every aspect, whether it's Hindu, Buddhism, Christianity, they're all a common. There's always God. They believe in the Supreme Being, just like the Islamic. So you see, each and every one has a God. And we all believe that. Now, we all know that in the Tibetan, the Tibet, the monks, and how they do things, and how they study, and how they meditate, and how they keep themselves going. This is just absolutely um, amazing when you, like in my case. All right, now I'll just give you a little synopsis of me. Now, I have a lot of Oriental things in my home. Now, the reasoning behind that is because I might have been in the Orient in a past life. I have an Oriental doctor. I've seen him. And so that aspect of things brings things into certain aspects. Now, some people um, might have something from another country, and they are drawn to maybe some little figurines or something of another nationality. Well, they may have been there in another lifetime. And so that feels comfortable for them. And they, oh, isn't that cute? I'd like to have that. And that brings it into perspective. But when you're trying to reach your spiritual aspect of who you are, that is all done within, in that whole aspect. The individual, when we say, I am, it is a creative attitude. You're creating it. I started to say this before and then I got sidetracked. And that is when you set up your desires, when you say, I would like to have this, or I would like, you set the desire out there. So you say, I am ready. I am ready for abundance in my life. I'm ready for a relationship in my life. I am ready for my spiritual awakening. These are things that are necessary for yourself, for your ongoingness, so you feel good about you. And I shared this last week with you that I had heard this and I loved it and I put it on my mirror and it's I am enough for me. And I'm having fun with life. Even though I'm where I'm at in my life, I'm still having fun. And that's the way I want to have it. Not everybody understands that, but hey, it is what it is. I don't make myself what's the word? Um, I don't try to get into other people's business. I try to figure out what they're doing, and I just try to be pleasant and wish people well. So I am. I gotta see who that is. I can't see. Put my glasses on a second. I want to see that because I know who this is. I think Jesse. Hi, Jesse. Oh, Violet's there too. Oh, it's wonderful to see all the names come up, and it's is what it's all about. It is, and Kimberly is saying it is love and gratitude, and it is. It is so much needed today, and I this week I don't know I this week I had a lot of 1111s. Um, And I don't usually get 1111s, but this week, every time I turned around, it was 1111. And I thought, man, it's 1111 at night. It's 1111 in the morning. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness. So those are just things that, you can incorporate and just say, okay, what is it? What does it stand for? What does it mean? And then when you go within, it's an absolute oneness, absolute. And we are so fortunate to be able to share with each other the aspects of that which is to be. We are so together. We are moving in an atmosphere that's going to change. We are. It's going to. It's a demand. The younger folks are going to demand the change and set forth that which is to be. We have so much coming and so many blessed things that are going to start to come forth. And as we do those things and set ourselves and get ourselves ready, and then that inside there's a fine line. And then you say, okay, I'm going to make sure that my thoughts are the key, the utmost importance, that my love, my joy, my compassion. Because what did I say earlier? Jesus brought us the grace and gave us the grace. And just knowing that in itself and knowing that it's divine love, divine order, and he wants us to be able to ask for assistance. That's what it's all about. You don't have to do it all over and say, oh well, I need to go see this person or I need to go see that person. And I'm not saying that you have to be a loner or anything like that. I'm just saying is that um, discernment. That's the word that comes to me. That whenever you're doing anything that has to do with your spiritual work and your physical work, a lot of discernment has to be going on. And can you, for just a second, just think about yourself? Can you visualize your body and know that you have a heart that is functioning, the rhythm, the beat, and that everything that you are resonates out of the heart? When anything comes in from the angelic realm, it comes in a column, the energy, and it'll come through the crown chakra and right on down through the spine, and then come back up into the pineal and the thalamus and the pituitary. And then it will come back down and rest in the heart. And the reason it comes back down and rests in the heart is because that function, that element, is that because we have two hearts. You have a physical heart, which is the pumper that keeps you going. Then you have another heart that is a spiritual, your aspect. All right. Now, I'm trying to use an example here, is that now can you visualize that there's a Christ in you right here? And there's a seed that has to be that travels up from below and up and into and crosses the bridge of the thalamus. Now, that is your Christ. Now, can you visualize now that there is your God self is also there? So you have your God self and your Christ self, and they are brought together. And the reason that they are brought together is through our thoughts and through all the things that we anticipate, because God is everything. I don't care what it is, He's in it. If it's plastic, He's in the ingredients. If it's wood, He was the tree. You know what I mean? He created it all. So He's in it all. And He fabrics anything that's been created, He created it. And the same thing when you came in to this life, into this body, and when you took your first breath, that was God saying, hi, you're in. So you see, that aspect, if you can see that you have your God and your Christ enfolded together, then you have your, what I call the personal, moral, or carnal self, whichever word you want to use, doesn't matter. Then you take those, the God and the Christ, and what I try to do is, and I don't know if you can visualize this, but I'll use my hands, all right? I'll try to do it this way, where you take your physical self, personal self, and then you engulf it with God and Christ. You bring it together internally because the kingdom is within you. And so you bring it in and then you engulf it, and then your personal self becomes more Christ, becomes more godly, and you'll say, oh, and don't fight it, just let it be, because it takes time. And if you get angry, if you have issues, let's say you're, well, just say, I want to keep it generic. And so let's just say if you have some issues, then you take each one of, whether it's one or two, and you say, oh, I need to work on this, or I need to work on that. Then you take and you bring your God and your Christ self together with your physical, and embrace it and love it. It's just like when I speak to you about your body, because you're the boss, and you'd say to your heart, I love you so much. All right? Or you can say to your kidneys, I love you and I thank you for working overtime. You've just been so wonderful, and I appreciate you so much. Me, I would say that to my liver because I had a liver problem at one time, which now I don't, but at one time I did. And so I would go in and surround that, and I'd bring my God and Christ self around that element, that, and bring it to it. I can't see what she's saying. I gotta get my glasses on here. What does it say? Every time I go on my phone, there is arms of Christ, and it does make me smile. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Um, that's great, and that is absolute, Angie. That's wonderful because you see, your heart. When your heart is full, everything just emanates. When you can say um, things that are bothering you, and you just know things are not just 100%, but you say, I think I'm there, but I need some more. I need to get it. I need to find um, where am I at, and and so you just take those type of aspects, and you just give yourself that tender love and care. You don't need to have somebody else give you love. You just love yourself. And who more? I mean, when you have God and Christ in you and they love you, and then you say, okay, I know that my God loves me and I know Christ loves me. Now I have to take that love that they love me, and I have to say, now, Constance, you can love yourself and all your body parts and my feet because I walk a lot. And so they take me, and I think, well, that's a lot of pounding, but we're doing it. And so those are the things that we have to ask ourselves, or just say thank you so much. And we are who we are. When we love ourselves, we can't help but emanate and love others. There's a kindness, there's understanding, there's a whole realm of things that start to come to for us to be looking at and full of. And so when we're placing all these things together, it's a wonderful experience to be able to nurture yourself and say, I am in the present, and know what it really entails. I drove a little bit this past week, and in fact, I think I went about 266 miles. And but you know what? I when I left, I thought, okay, I'm going to be okay. And I had never driven that far before in this state, and I've always been afraid. And this time I wasn't afraid. I had a team with me, and I saw pieces of Florida that were so absolutely gorgeous, and the trees were turning. It was just like I thought I was in northern Michigan. And I went through a small little town, and I thought, oh, I thought I was in Baldwin, Michigan. That's what it reminded me of. And so I thought, and I just smiled, and I thought, isn't this just wonderful? And I thought, I have sat here all these years and was afraid to venture out. Not anymore. I did take a trip over to my grandson's home, and that's not very far, but it's quite a jaunt, and I had to go over the Skyway Bridge. But I've done that before by myself, and so that wasn't a big to do. And but it was merging on highways and deciding, oh, am I going to be able to get there and all that, and it was a wonderful trip. And so I was able to go and come back without any trouble at all. And then when I came back from my trip, it was I wanted to come back the way I went up, but I didn't. I ended up getting on the big highway, 75, and coming down 75 to 275 and in. But I made sure that my timing was right so that when I was going through Tampa and getting on to 275, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is a good time versus 5 o'clock. So I thought, okay, so I timed myself so I was coming in at a really good time. And so I thought, well, there I was, being an adventurous spirit and doing some wonderful things. And I did some readings for people while I was gone and meeting new folks. And it was a lovely, lovely time that I had in meeting these new people and incorporating them in my life. And it was wonderful. And I would go back, and I will go back and see those people again because they were just awesome. And the Southern hospitality was just wonderful. So those are the things that we all, are happy about. And we are all blessed in many, many ways. And I'm so happy about life itself. And I'm anxious for you. Our next show, I've decided I'm going to talk, well, we'll always talk about the I am, but I'm going to be talking about our Father, our Heavenly Father. And I, I'm almost positive because I've already asked, and in regards to what are we going to be talking about, can I cue people up and say, gee, this is what we're going to talk about? Because in essence, the stuff that I'm getting is the mysteries, and it's the mystical part of what we're experiencing. And it's so important to be able to share that information, not just because I receive it, but you need to hear it. And so I'm going to start incorporating some of the things that I have already received from the spirit realm and giving it out to you. And we'll be able to have I'm going to try to have a little dialogue at the end so that if anybody has any questions, they can ask me. And it's just going to be a time when we can all participate in going into 2020 uh, and being able to pull together the aspect of what God wants us to have and all that is, all that we are and knowing. And so we are who we are. And don't let your ego get in the way. Just don't give it any credence. You don't have to. So, but anyway, I do want you to know that there are a lot of things cooking, and we are um, all putting things in perspective. And the more you can reach within. Now, I don't have, I knew I was going to try to channel tonight, but my time's got away from me. But um, it's important that each and every one of us who are light bearers and who have the gift of channeling start to put it out there, start to give it to people, start to energize it, give it credence, and say, we need to be doing the things that you're receiving, because the only way that the angelic realm now has to talk to us is versus moving our hair and giving our body, goosebumps and things like that, or you get this gut feeling, and that is to bring it in, to give it to us, is through the channel. Channeling's been going on forever, but now it's our turn. We're not going to get burned at the stake for it. Years ago, yeah, but I probably got burned up a few times. I think I did, and but I'm not going there. I know there's a life I lived, and I was burned. So, but that's all right. I don't have to worry about that in this lifetime. And so that aspect of what I'm trying to say to you is when you are and you have the gift, it's your opportunity now. I don't know how. I don't know your ages. It's immaterial. It's the time. It's your time. It's your time to shine. It's your time, your opportunity to get into classes if that's what it needs, and for you to be able to teach it. It's your opportunity to be the light of the world. There are so many light bearers out there that are a little bit nervous. Don't be nervous. I'm a senior. Now, when you hear it from me, you got to know you got a whole lifetime to do it. And do it to the best of your ability. And make sure that you're in your authentic truth. And make sure that you do the things that help humanity. The service that you will provide will enhance and bring things to a higher level of consciousness. This is where it's at. And so when you are, and I know that there's a lot of you folks out there who are channelers that, according to Neshi, that are part and watch this show. So I'm encouraging you to reach in, and if you have to get some guts, get some guts. Get out there and do it. It's not, you should not be afraid. Life is so awesome. And you just got to trust and know that everything is going to happen when it's supposed to happen, not 1 minute before. In God's time, thy will be done. So keep it simple and keep it so that you're feeling good about you and knowing that I am in the presence of my Almighty Father. Why? Because He lives in me. Just know that. You don't have to, uh, uh, you just don't have to sell it. Just know within yourself how much fun you're going to have. And just keep it going. And also, just know how wonderful you all are. Look within yourself and love yourself and say, I'm enough. I'm enough. Who cares? Because each day that you wake up and you say your good mornings, and before you put your feet on that floor, and you say, I am that I am, and do your little meditation or whatever you have to do to set your pace for your day. Be who you are. You are the light of this world. Each and every one of you are the blessings. God blessed you with His breath. And remember the silence. There's a song called The Silence. And it's pretty intense. And but with that, I realize, we are at the top of the hour, and I apologize, but I have to read. I have to read. I always read my little thing here. Live for the joy of living, love for the joy of loving, and give for the joy of giving, and serve for the joy of serving. And please, each and every one of you, do your very best to let your light shine and serve. And blessings be to each and every one. And I'll be here in January. And I think it's January 2nd. I'm not sure, but that's my mama's birthday. So maybe my mama will pop in. So anyway, blessings be everyone. Until the next time.